silicon tone bender, silicon crystal valve. And this is based on the Color Sound Supatone bender. Peter Gabriel era Genesis featured it a lot on its guitar. Steve Hackett used this, and another Fuzz quite a bit. And this one I like because it actually captivated my attention when Steve Hackett used it on I Know What I Like on Selling England by the Pound. There's this sort of lawnmower sound that comes in the beginning of the tune. Things that first attracted me to this Fuzz was its apparently infinite sustain.
Huge amount of sustain.
I like it. Yeah. I also like what happens across the tone dial on this Fuzz in the way that I liked. It's one of the reasons I called them both crystal valves. I thought that their tones really took them across a wide range of territory. So I'm going to start this one on its low end here, and it's pretty dramatic, the difference you get across the tone dial on one of these style Fuzzes. So I'll start with the low end here. It has a very close texture. I would describe it as, of all the Fuzzes we make, it's probably the densest of the sort of, if you think of Fuzz as having a tooth like a saw, I think of this one as having the finest hack saw.
But tone control is very effective.
Yeah, it gives you, it kind of gives you three different, the first time I ever heard a Color Sound Supatone bender, I thought it was a little schizophrenic as a pedal, because honestly the sounds you get from this end of the tone dial to that are so different. I don't hear them as, they don't, in my mind, come from the same Fuzz, but in the end it's kind of what won me over to bringing this one out, was because it can voice differently.
Okay, so we heard two flavors of germanium Fuzz here,
right?
And now we also have two flavors of silicon. Can you explain how these two differ?
Sure. This is a Fuzz face design. The BC108 Silicon Fuzz is based on the early silicon Fuzz faces, which are virtually identical to the germaniums except for the transistor complement and some of the ground scheme that had to change. One of the differences in this pedal and its germanium counterpart here on the board real quickly is that we put an external bias control on it, and we'll hear how that affects the sound in a minute. Comparing these two silicon, they're very different animals on the inside, and so we'll listen to that and we'll see how they are. So we got here the silicon crystal valve. Fuzz. BC108 has a rounder and sort of fuller voice to it, and is also a little bit less compressed, a little bit less bass forward, has a little bit less of the sort of firmness in the low end that the crystal valve does. These tend to kind of roll off the low end. They're also a little bit looser in their texture. of the things we can show now on the BC108 is what this bias control will do to the sound. It's essentially a starving function to the transistor, so it creates a sort of a breakup that's different than the fuzz. It's more abrupt, and people liken it to the sound of a broken speaker sometimes. Actually introduces a little bit more of that vibrating and goes away when
Well, this is a raw sounding fuzz. This fuzz actually sounds, if you can use the term, it's a little more hi-fi
It is. It's a much more sort of stable sounding signal coming through. It sounds reinforced and very sort of evenly emphasized across its spectrum. And the way I think of the EQ curves of the fuzz faces is they kind of drop off on both sides. They get a little bit diffuse in the high end and a little bit diffuse in the low end.
Cool.